Lee Israel was a successful biographer and writer until, well, she wasn't. But she wasn't going to get a regular job. She knew how to write and had an in-depth knowledge of various writers, and so she decided instead to forge and sell rare letters to excited collectors. This, G, is a story of the greatest literary forgery of all time, the case of Lee Israel.
I love the wording of forge rare letters.
Yeah.
Well, of course they're rare, they're forged.
That's actually true. Yeah. Hey, welcome to Not Another Crime podcast. This is a Thursday treat.
It is.
And I'm sitting here by myself, I think. No, wait. I'm sitting here with Georgia Love.
Come on, I'm right here in front of you.
Having some fun. How the heck are you?
You know what? I'm good.
You did a storytelling night the other night.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so you put me in touch with one of the people who runs Comedy Republic, which is a brilliant comedy venue in Melbourne.
Yep.
Because they do a monthly storytelling night.
Yep.
And they had asked if I wanted to be involved, and I said I'm very much not a comedian. And she said it's storytelling.
Yeah.
It's storytellers, writers, personalities, whatever. And I went,
You weren't
okay.
telling us something we didn't already know. You go, not a comedian, you go, what? You've lied to all of us.
Correct. But then, so I said, yep, absolutely, I'll do it. And then the day before, they put up the poster for it, and it said live storytelling with comedians.
Yeah.
And it was only me and 3 other people who are very much career professional, very good comedians.
Yep.
So I was freaking out and thought you'd stitched me up massively, which, to be fair, you kind of still did. But it was fun.
Yeah. You had a great time. It was great.
Oh, I had a great. You were there. Why
Yeah.
did you say you had a great time?
Because you had a
like
great time.
this,
I had a
in
great
a really
time as
high
well.
octave. Yeah, you had a great time.
You had a great time.
It was a bit
so
shit
great.
though.
No,
but
you were
great
fantastic,
time.
but it was such a fun experience to see you up there telling a story. And you
was
told the story that you told on this podcast about losing your phone in NYC, New York City.
I did. I just really went in depth on that story and added some little funny gags along the way. Everything that happened, but I kind of linked a few little funny things.
Yeah, little funny things.
And can I say something very funny happened on Instagram today? So I put up photos from the event.
Yeah.
And said the caption was, "That's comedian Georgia Love to you."
Oh,
very
what's that?
obviously taking the piss out of myself. Anyway, someone has commented on it and said, well, this is why your marriage broke down, because you're clearly just wanting to go out and party every night. What a shame.
Party?
Which I think is so funny because it was 4 people in a comedy club
On a Monday
night.
Yeah.
I just thought that was amazing. So
Yeah,
there's
that's
a little
so funny.
insight into my friends on Instagram.
Yeah, that's so funny. We met a great woman from America who was travelling by herself, and it was so sweet. She just decided on a whim to come to a storytelling night on a Monday night.
So great. She was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I spoke about this podcast.
Yeah.
At the storytelling night as well.
You did.
Some of you may be listening, some of our
Yeah.
wonderful and new listeners. So if so, thank you for coming along to
Thank you
that
so
night.
much.
And thanks for joining and listening to us. And we've also had lots of messages from people saying that they've been bullying their friends into listening, which is exactly what we've requested you do.
We do condone that behaviour. We do condone that behaviour and
Yes.
condone.
And thank and tank.
And tank as well. I also got a very funny email from a guy called Craig yesterday, the great Craig, who's written in a couple of times before, that all it said was, Her Magistrate, I implore you, and it had a photo of a bin.
Of terrible bins all piled up
For the bin
wildly.
manager. Yeah.
And I do love if someone's just come across this episode and hasn't listened to anything in the past, not understanding why you are the bin manager.
Yeah.
But if you don't understand, go back and listen.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
you know, you know.
IYKYK.
Yeah. And what would Jesus do?
Exactly.
Exactly.
You know, I love when people shorten things, like make acronyms that are actually longer than just
And then
saying
explain
the
them.
words. That too.
Yeah.
Too. But my favourite is when the TV show Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, yeah,
People
yeah.
call it DWTS, which
It's
is
so
so long
funny.
to say.
DWTS?
DWTS.
It just doesn't roll off the tongue,
No,
does
that's
it?
my favourite.
If you want to watch us on YouTube as well, you can do that. We have a YouTube channel. The link will be below in the show notes. Also, if you want to leave us a 5-star rating, 5-star review, gee whiz, we would love that.
Oh, we would.
Oh, we
Please do it. You can
would.
follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Not Another Crime Podcast.
We'd bloody love that. We would absolutely love love it. Now, I've got a story for you today, G, for our Thursday treat, all about Lee Israel. Now, have you heard of Lee Israel before?
Is it the Lee from the movie Lee that Kate Winslet was in?
Yes.
Then yes, but I don't know the story because I haven't seen it.
No, it's not. But it is. There's a film about Lee Israel. Melissa McCarthy played her, and it was and Richard E. Grant played her friend in it, and it was just fantastic.
I reckon that's exactly why I'm getting confused, because I remember you mentioning this story to me a while ago. You said there's a great movie about it, and now I've just got in my head that there's a movie called Lee with Kate Winslet, which I think she's a writer, but it may very. I'm not even going to finish the sentence because I'll look it up afterwards and I'll be really wrong, and I'm already
Stop Googling Lee.
People are already mad at me for getting that so wrong anyway.
Today I'm going to tell you the story of Lee Israel. It was turned into a movie, Can You Ever Forgive Me, in 2018, which starred Melissa McCarthy and Richard E. Grant. I remember watching it, not really believing it could have been a true story at the time.
They're the best kind, aren't they?
So good. It's a great film, and I highly recommend it, and it goes quite in depth to the characters and their relationships with one another.
Is Kate Winslet in it at all?
No, she's not.
Is Leonardo DiCaprio?
No, she's not.
Okay.
Lee Israel was born on September 3rd, 1939, to parents Jack and Sylvia.
Jack, like from Titanic?
From Titanic.
Sorry,
it's all
I'll
about
stop,
Titanic. Growing up in Brooklyn, Lee always wanted to be a writer. In 1961, she graduated from Brooklyn College and quickly secured writing jobs. She wrote articles for the New York Times, Esquire magazine, writing about several Golden Age celebrities. That was kind of her passion.
Oh, cool.
And then went on to write several books that landed her on the New York Times bestseller list.
Wow.
She was achieving her wildest dreams. Her biographies are known for being really well researched, written, and honest. They were like really scathing at times as well.
Wow.
At this time, she was known for being big news in the literary world. She was out drinking with people in the industry, often using her sniper wit to take down another writer in the industry. She was kind of known for being really scathing, kind of like an acid tongue.
Ooh.
Yeah, and you see a bit of that in the film. She really kind of looks down on other writers if she doesn't like their style.
That's a dangerous but can be clever
Can be fun.
position to put yourself in.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
It could be clever because if people are a little bit scared of you, they're always going to be really nice to you just in case.
I know. Yeah, I kind of think of that like with the Oscar Wilde kind of type, just known for a witty personality, but it doesn't always work and doesn't always land.
And you don't want to get on the wrong side of those kind of people.
People loved how droll she was, and she would often speak openly about how she felt about other people. She wrote about brilliant and special women, believing that she herself was one of them. She was working with Betty Davis on a biography, and due to a spat, had to return the advance.
Oh my God.
There were quite a few abandoned biographies at this time. Each time she was having to return the money. Now, an advance is, for people that don't know, is what you get when you're commissioned to write a book, and it's money up front that then is taken out of your sales at the end. So to actually have to return an advance, I have a friend that had to return an advance a couple of times, and it can be, depending on how big the celebrity is, it can be quite a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've already got that money. It's not like you've been promised it, so you've mentally spent it.
Exactly.
You've physically got it, so you've physically spent it. Oh, God, that's okay. Can't wait to find out why.
In 1985, Lee was commissioned to write a book for makeup mogul Estee Lauder.
Whoa.
That would be the start of her downfall. Lee was hard-nosed and blunt. She wasn't really interested in Estee at the time, but needed the money. She didn't sugarcoat anything, and despite several bribes from Estee, who wanted her to stop, Lee exposed her for the various lies she had told, as where she was born and regularly attending a church that she'd never attended in Florida.
Okay, I'm going to do a bit of defense for journalists here. So she's writing a biography and has found out that information that's in the public domain about Estee Lauder is not correct.
Yep.
And is she meant to be in the wrong for calling that out?
No,
That's
she's a researcher and writer.
Exactly.
She's apparently, that's why she was so good. Now, she wasn't commissioned by Estee to write this book, so Estee got her back up quite.
Well, then even more so.
Yeah.
I didn't know Estee Lauder was somebody's name.
Yeah,
Never thought about that.
Like Maybelline.
Exactly.
There were inaccuracies in her story, and Lee was going to call her out on all of them. Lee would often go out and drink with her friend Jack after work. This man...
You know that I'm just picturing Kate Winslet the whole time.
Yeah, this is Richard E. Grant in the film.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
This man was said to be her only friend, who also happened to be a seasoned criminal. His full name was Jack Hock. He was a camp charming man.
That literally sounds like you're clearing your throat.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Hock. I won't
Jack
say that too
Hock.
much. I'll just say Jack from now on.
Name.
Charming man with wonderfully impressive bright veneers.
Oh.
His teeth had reportedly been punched out when he was trying to con someone previously.
Is this still in the 80s?
Yeah.
Can you imagine how bad veneers would have
Oh
been
my
in
God.
the 80s?
Oh my God. Jack had recently been in prison for 2 years for holding up a cab driver. He even got into trouble with various boys of the night.
What does that mean?
So he was, with sex workers back in the day. Boys of the night.
How old are you?
Jack is also a guy who lawyers sometimes hired for their less than savoury work. Jack was often called in to help settle things outside of legal matters.
Oh.
Matters. Estee offers $60,000 to write the book, then says that. Oh, so Estee at that time offers Lee $60,000 to not write the book.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and Lee decides instead that she needs to finish it.
Whoa.
Estee condemned the book and wrote her own instead, selling many more copies than Lee, and they both ended up racing each other to finish their own books.
So great.
Lee claimed that she rushed the book and it was bad, after she wasn't making money and continually struggling to pay the rent. She would not work a regular job. She believed it was below her. The cash soon dried up. Eventually, she was relying on support from the government. Despite making a name for herself, penning the biographies of the rich and famous, not many wanted to work with her because of her attitude and stayed clear of her entirely.
Ooh.
Lee was soon down to her last few dollars and goes to sell her cherished books at a local pawn store. She was drinking more and had to care for her cat.
Oh.
The owner of the pawn shop says that she has nothing of work in her whole collection, and these were really important books to her. She was banned for life after snapping at the owner.
Oh my God, this diva.
Yeah. She soon tries temp work after that, including copywriting, but she can't deal with being spoken down to and bites back each time, so she gets let go each time. Lee was barely scraping by at that point, and then her one true love, her cat Jersey, passes away.
Why?
She was grieving and misses her cat terribly. A little while later, she finds a stray cat outside and named her Doris and starts to take care of her.
Isn't that
Oliver Clark?
Oliver Clark's
Yeah.
called Doris.
Yeah, Doris. Isn't
Aw.
that cute? The cat wasn't eating though, and Lee couldn't afford vet bills. She would do anything to save the new love of her life and keep Doris alive.
Oh.
At that time, Lee visited the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts. It's the only place she really spent her time from home and the bar. Really, they were the only places that she went.
I went and visited that.
Well, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
good.
cool. She was doing research on her favourite topic, Golden Age starlets. Lee discovered old letters from actor, singer and comedian Fanny Bryce, which I think is just the coolest name,
that the
Fanny
most
Bryce.
wonderful name?
Yeah, and such a name of the time, Fanny Bryce.
Also, I feel like Lee Israel would be, if she loved that golden era of stars and was a cat lady, she would be all around Audrey Hepburn.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. She'd write a biography about Audrey Hepburn.
I feel like Lee and I could have been friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Lee starts to think about how much letters like this would be worth. She had recently sold a genuine letter she had received when she wrote an article on Katharine Hepburn, and it had sold for a few $100s.
Wrong Hepburn, but still good.
Yeah. How much would these be worth to an autograph buyer? Mm-hmm. She's thinking that she and Doris are alive. Fanny Bryce is dead. She slides the Fanny Bryce letters into her notebook and then into her shoes to get them out of the library.
Oh, whoa.
Lee rehearses the story over and over in her head on the way to the store, she needs to get her story straight on how she found these letters. She says that she'd recently discovered these genuine letters from Fanny Bryce. The owner of the store asks if she is the Lee Israel. Lee is absolutely elated and flattered by this. The owner says that Lee would get more of these letters if they were juicier. So like if they had, some sort of
She'd get more
spicy.
money for them,
Yeah. When she gets home, she is inspired.
Uh-oh.
Doris has also eaten all of her dinner, so she's now even more excited.
Good girl, Doris.
Lee buys an antique typewriter. Now, I think this is so smart in this story, making sure it would match the vintage of Fanny Bryce. She goes back to the library, takes more legitimate Fanny letters, and then goes back to her home to add a postscript onto these letters.
Whoa. Also, can I just say how funny the term legitimate Fanny letters is?
Yeah. Now that's fun stuff. Lee places the real letter in the typewriter. The letter had Fanny writing about the birth of her grandson. P.S., she writes as Fanny, he has my old nose. Do I have to leave him an extra something for repairs?
Oh my God.
That's fun. And she was so good at writing in other people's voice.
Yeah.
So that's why she could kind of...
So she's made up a
just a little
gossipy
PS.
piece that she had a nose job.
Yeah.
Whoa.
She had a knack for writing and knew a lot about the writing styles of those she admired. She'd be good at it and she'd be able to sell more letters penned by more famous people for much more money. She would continue to take existing letters from the library and then add a few extra lines on her typewriter, really adding a bit of flavour to each and every letter. She would look for letters with a small bit of space where she could add a few lines or add something before or after the signature. She spent a bit of time sourcing typewriters from different eras so that she could make them appear more legitimate. She would add a name of a famous author to the typewriter who the letters would come from, so she knew each one would come from that person. In one letter from Noel Coward, for example, Lee added a line about Julie Andrews, writing, quite attractive since she dealt with her monstrous English overbite.
Oh my God.
This forgery was so convincing, it even made it into a book called The Letters from Noel Coward.
Oh my God.
In 1991, Lee was in her apartment with her TV laying on its back. It was used as a light box so she can trace the signatures. She's working on forging her own letters, making them completely from scratch now. At that point, the collectors had been convinced they were real. She wanted to push the boundaries and thought that she could fool anyone. Lee was going in each time by herself and selling them, but she was getting a bit of a reputation. She believed that the forgeries were her best work to date.
Oh no.
Lee was spending time with the collectors, having drinks as they would marvel over how witty and amazing these letters were. She couldn't help but agree. She was selling the letters from $50 to $100 and the collectors were selling them for sometimes thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I'm going to say that feels like it's not that.
Yeah.
$50 to $100 doesn't sound that much.
It doesn't sound like that much.
But is that so she kind of stays a little bit under the radar? Because if she's going out and trying to sell it for thousands, then people will go, hang on, that's that writer. How does she? Yeah,
she have so many letters? Yeah.
She's a dealer.
One of the letters written by Noel Coward raised some suspicions with a buyer by the name of Alan. In one of the letters, he was talking openly about his homosexuality, which was not legal when he was supposed to have written them. The buyer, Alan, tells her that for $5,000, he won't tell anyone about it. So he's bribing Lee Israel at this time and saying, look, if you give me $5,000, you won't hear from me again. To make sure she could do this without getting caught, she enlisted the help of her friend Jack. Jack was extremely charming and could get away with anything. He would talk and kind of flirt with all the pawn shop owners. Jack did convince people. They were exact replicas of the letters and they fooled everyone. And with Jack's help, they could kind of sell more.
Yeah, wow.
She then would copy letters, replicate them, return them to the library and hope that no one would notice. She would then hand them to Jack to deliver. She ends up making $5,000 from Alan himself and uses that money to pay him back. Jack starts making more money from Lee. They were making more money than ever. At this time, Jack had AIDS and was getting sicker and sicker. Lee looked after him and he often stayed on her couch. A man by the name of David was sold a letter by Jack. He feels really uneasy about Jack. Even though he thinks the letter is real, something is off. Jack told him that a letter written by Ernest Hemingway was found in his dead lover's possessions. David did not trust Jack. He calls a friend and learns that the letter was meant to be in a university, but not owned privately by someone.
Yeah, this is what I think is interesting about it,
Yeah.
especially taking them from the library. At some point,
know,
someone's
you're
going to
gonna get
realise
caught.
that. Or she said some of them she would return. Then
Yeah.
sometime one day, it's
You're just going to get found out. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
The librarian was really confused. In fact, it's still in the library. David goes to compare the letters and they are exactly the same, but they realise that the one in the library was actually the fake.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, so she was returning the
She was
fake
returning
ones.
them,
Ooh,
yeah.
ballsy.
They had been swapped. The last person to check in was Lee Israel.
Oh, come on.
And I think it's wild she used her real name.
Come on.
David decided to call the FBI. While they're there, the FBI ask if David will wear a wire. He agrees. Jack arrives to talk to David. Lee waits for him in a nearby restaurant, but he never shows up. As Lee is leaving, a man stops her in the street and notices her. He's an FBI agent. The agent tells Lee that Jack had stumbled on another priceless letter. They were listening in and confronted Jack. Jack spilled the names of the library she'd been taking them from right away.
Oh, my God.
Lee says she won't talk without a lawyer and is free to go. Lee rushes home and starts throwing out all of her typewriters. One by one, she throws them all out. She gets rid of all the antique papers and research notes on all of her favourite writers. The FBI turns up and charges her from evidence found in the libraries. She had checked into the library using her own name, and each library found forgeries instead of the real letters.
Oh.
Lee finds out that she was selling her own letters for a lot less than they were actually worth.
Well, yeah.
They were actually at the time worth up to $20,000. A lot of these
Surely
letters.
they would be. That's why I'm so confused.
I know.
A handwritten, a typewriter letter by Ernest Hemingway.
I know.
Selling it for $100.
It's wild. You'd think that she'd actually wake up to it and be like, I could make a lot more money out of this.
Especially when she was really interested in
Yeah.
that era, and this is so weird.
Lee says in court that she apologised for what she had done and felt a lot of remorse. She was sentenced to 6 months of house arrest and had to pay the people she swindled back and attend Alcoholics Anonymous. She never paid back the collectors she had swindled. Jack passed away in 1994 from AIDS and was never charged. In 2006, Lee Israel signed another book deal about her life.
Oh,
Can You Ever Forgive Me? Which is a line she forged from Dorothy Parker. Lee publicly joked about the scams. She admits to everything she had done. She died in 2014, still considering her forgeries her best work, and in fact, they were. The letters she wrote now sold for more because they were genuine Lee Israel forgeries.
yes. Oh, my God.
And that, G, is the story of Lee Israel and Jack Hock.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is I was going to say she was playing like the long game the
Yeah.
whole time if she wrote it then all into a book. And
How great is
that
that?
book would have made money afterwards.
Yeah.
That's so funny when something like that happens. The dodgy ones become what everyone wants
Yeah,
because that's
yeah.
almost like a more salacious, funny
Absolutely.
kind of thing.
And also, yeah, I just love that it was like, oh my God, that's a real Lee Israel
Yeah,
forgery.
fake. Yeah, it's a real fake. Genuine fake.
Yeah.
Oh my
How
God.
fun's that?
That's
yeah.
so good. I didn't know that story at all. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I love as well that the letters from Noel Coward were actually put in a Noel Coward book. They thought they were
Yes.
that genuine that it was just like, oh my God, I never knew that you wrote this about Julie Andrews. Or it's
Which
so
is,
funny.
I was going to say it's embarrassing for the people who published the book, but I suppose
If they were
how
that
do you
good.
know? Yeah,
Yeah.
How would you discover whether they were real or not if you're seeing them in front of you? They're in this tone. You can't really go back and ask.
No, exactly.
How would you find that out?
And she was known for her in-depth research. She was really good at writing in other people's voices. So I feel like she must have been so good at it that she just got away with it for such a long time.
Wow, this diva. I wish I could meet her.
She's really interesting.
and also so just grumpy and stoic that people refuse to work with her.
Yep.
It's giving me, and probably just because I've only just finished watching the recent season, but it's giving me Deborah Vance from Hacks.
Oh,
where
right.
It's like you can't help yourself because you're so like pisses everyone off and pissed off at the world. Just, you could be doing so much better, you know?
Yeah.
It feels like that.
I highly recommend the film. I remember when it came out, I saw it twice. I was like, I really, really liked it because Melissa McCarthy was just, I don't know if she won an Oscar for it or something, but she was so good. And and Richard E. Grant playing Jack was just so believable because it was like, oh, he is this really likable, beautiful guy. Yeah. And I don't know if he's actually a beautiful lover, but you know, but in the
character,
it's very hard not to like Richard E. Grant playing a gay man in New York at the time.
Absolutely.
Like it was really good and really worthwhile. So Can You Ever Forgive Me is the film. Highly recommend that. But Lee Israel, I was just like, when you watch it and you go, this can't be real, this can't be real, this can't be real. And then you're like, even, you know, the scene of her waiting at the restaurant, waiting for him to come because she's like, oh, he'll come with my money soon. And, you know, just never.
Oh my God. The one movie I've thought that the most about, that whole like, if this was pitched as a fiction script.
Finding Nemo, I agree.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
in fact, it is real.
Yeah, in fact, it is very real. It's a documentary.
No, it is Lion. Which
I haven't seen that.
So, what?
No.
Oh my God. How have we never spoken about this before? Oh, it's simply one of the greatest movies of all time.
You mean The Lion King?
Yep.
What's Lion?
Lion is about Saru Briley, who is a Tasmanian boy, well, man now, who was adopted from India. He ended up in an orphanage in India because he accidentally got on a train and ended up in a completely different area from where he was from.
Right.
Couldn't find his way back. His parents couldn't find him. He was 3 or 4 years old or something. Ended up in an orphanage, and a Tasmanian couple adopted him. And when he became an adult, he was having memories and flashbacks of the area that he had lived when he was a little boy, and he used Google Earth to locate his family's village and went back and found his biological family. It is absolutely incredible.
Oh, okay, I need to,
it's the number one movie that I remember thinking while I was watching it. I actually knew the story because I know the family from Tassie, but you watch it and you go, if someone had written this as a fiction piece, they would have been turned away and said, make it more believable. That's just stupid. It is absolutely incredible.
Wow.
And Saru is a beautiful human as well.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And his parents own Briley Hose and Handling in Tassie.
Great plug.
Yeah.
For great business.
It was an ad that was always on Win TV that I worked for down there.
I'm coming to Tasmania, actually, speaking of, on the 18th of July. If you want to get your tickets to come and see me, I'll be doing my solo show down there. So I'm very excited about doing that on the 18th. Been lots of fun.
Such a weirdly perfect segue.
Yeah.
Really
always.
felt set up.
Yeah. I led you down that road.
Saru, if you're listening, please come to Sammy's show.
Oh, I'd love that. I'm going to watch Lion.
I can't believe you've not seen it, and I can't believe we've never discussed this.
Yeah, no.
Have you seen The Lion King?
Yes, I have. Absolutely.
That's also about an orphaned boy.
Yes, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for listening this week. Please do leave a 5-star rating, 5-star review. Thank you for all the wonderful people that love the Candace Wyatt Thursday treat.
Oh, yes. We've had the most wonderful feedback
really
about that. Candace is just so beautiful, and she spoke so beautifully and so really in depth and emotionally, which you so rarely hear from, that side of someone that's doing that kind of reporting as well. So, and thank you again, Candace, for doing that. I also want to say that we've had multiple messages from people after we were talking about how much we love our pets, and we were saying we can't fathom loving human babies. And I said all the parents hate us because obviously we would love human babies more. Multiple messages from people saying, I can confirm I've got human babies and fur babies, and sometimes the fur babies.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
them
yeah.
a bit more. They give you less grief.
And also the wonderful couple that sent us a message about the Green River Killer.
Yes!
So funny to hear
Cara
from
and
them.
Lucas.
Yeah, and it's so funny that they put up an Instagram story of them live reacting to hearing us talk about it.
Oh, that's the best.
So funny.
We love when you guys tag us when you're listening
Yeah,
and where you're
yeah.
listening. We love that so much.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you how much joy that brings us.
Yeah.
It's something we're doing as a passion project because we love it.
Yeah.
And knowing and seeing that you're actually out there listening to it and getting in on our silly little horrendous jokes.
Yeah.
It really, I love, that's my favourite part.
Yeah,
I love it.
So please do follow us on Instagram, Not Another Crime Podcast, on TikTok as well. Thank you to Oliver Clark for doing the theme music and Tamsin Hayes for doing the artwork.
And thank you to you for writing another story.
Hey, that's a goddamn pleasure. We'll see you next week, everybody. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating, 5-star review.
Can you do the story about the Lee from the movie Lee with Kate Winslet next week?
Sure, and I'll do the Winnebago Man as well.
Oh, God.
Goodbye, everybody.